What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are here with the first injury report of the week for the Lions and for the Arizona Cardinals, man. We are on to hashtag Arizona week, and this is a big week, a really big week, especially for Arizona. They're looking to clinch a playoff spot this week. They went from number 1 to number 3 currently in the playoff picture after Monday Night Football, and I'm pretty sure that the Lions could not only keep them from clinching a playoff spot, but they could also possibly somehow knock them down to a wild card spot. Maybe, I'm not completely sure on that. Maybe if the Rams win and we beat the Cardinals, I think maybe the Rams would actually lead the division at that point. I don't know how the tiebreakers are with them, but I know that we could possibly hold them off from clinching a playoff spot a little bit longer if we could somehow pull out a win. Is it impossible? No. But is it going to be very difficult? Yes. And I'm sure the spread will be gigantic. So let's get it started.
The city's been down, and it found a way to get up. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. We're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
And welcome, everybody, to our video. Glad you guys are here. And, man, it is good to be back with another injury report, man. We're moving on from that Denver Broncos game. We are on to Arizona, which is really not any easier. If anything, it's actually tougher because Arizona is a really good team. They are currently 10-3. They are on a short week because they did play on Monday Night Football, so today they just went through walkthroughs. I do want to point this out. Usually on Wednesday, we go through the All-22. That's kind of how we move on from the past week. We go through the All-22, we move on to the next game. However, I don't know if we're going to get to do that tonight. Not because I don't want to, but because I have been unable to make the All-22 work. I know, it sounds strange. I was able to get it yesterday. I got my first kind of look at the All-22, but I usually like to go through it on Wednesday, get my notes, and then we go through the live stream at night. But I was unable to get that to work today. I'm not sure what's going on with the site, if it's down, but the games are just not loading. So I don't know what's going on with that. If I'm able to get it, we'll probably do a live stream. If I'm not able to, then maybe we'll push it back to later in the week, or we may just not even look at this game, because honestly, a lot of this game was just mistakes, just a lot of mistakes. And, you know, I'm okay with honestly not looking at this game. I don't really like to continue to watch this one because it was just that tough. But at the same time, there's still a lot of learning you can do from watching it back. So we'll just see what happens, what All-22 has in store for us. But I do like to usually watch it before I go on the live stream. I'm not just trying to stream it without having seen it, because then I have no idea what actually has happened. Some good news here, okay? I think we actually spoke something into existence, so we could take a little bit of credit for that. We'll get to that in a second. But there is some good news. Starting off with, you know, the health, because that's a big one. We had the COVID list, which was going crazy last week. The Lions are one of 7 teams, I believe, in the NFL right now in enhanced COVID protocols. They're going through more testing, more mask protocols. We saw Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, they're both wearing their masks at their media pressers today. So they're going through that. They're also changing some things up, grab and go food. Now, they did have the players in the building today. Campbell said they had them spread out. They had the masks on, but they did want to have them in the building. And after a weird week last week, the Lions had their guys in the building today. But the good news is that Dan Campbell believes they've really kind of got rid of the flu sickness that was going on last week. With the cautionary measures that they took to hold guys out, to make sure that guys, you know, were staying safe, it looks like they may have kind of moved on from that, which would be fantastic news. That would be awesome if that was the case. Last week, we had a crazy amount of people on the injury report, and a lot of them were just illness, either cautionary or they weren't feeling well. We saw with Jermar Jefferson, he was active, but he didn't play because he really didn't practice last week because he wasn't feeling well. And great news today is when you'll see this Lions injury report, it's nowhere near as gigantic as it was last week. There are multiple players that are no longer on this list, and a lot of it has to do with illness. A lot of those guys that said illness last week are no longer on here. So that is where I will start with the good news, is it looks like the Lions are moving on from that, which is great. Now, the COVID situation, he wouldn't go into who's vaccinated, and I get it. You don't want to, you know, give that information out. But he did say, you know, a lot of the players are vaccinated that are currently on this list. Again, it's just kind of wait and see, you know, when they're able to get back. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but most importantly, the guy's got to be healthy. Yesterday, the Lions did sign 3 corners. If you want to know about those 3 corners, you can check out the video that we did yesterday. But anyways, I know that video came out late. It wasn't supposed to come out late, but it came out later than I thought it would. But either way, let's dive into this injury report for the Lions, go through some of the latest news, some of the roster moves that the Lions made, and some of the improvement that they're having. First off, here's the injury report. Now, there's a lot of guys that are no longer on this list, and I know you probably can't tell, but if you watched last week, it was huge. All right, let me roll through the players that are no longer on this list. Are you ready? Let's do this. Big V, Matt Nelson, Nick Williams, Jared Goff, Jermar Jefferson, all right, who did not play last week even though he was active. Did I say Nick Williams? I think I did. Ali McNeil, Levi Onwuzurike, John Pennicini, Charles Harris, Riley Patterson. None of those guys are on this list anymore, and a lot of those were illness. We also were given some good news here as well, as the Lions have Evan Brown returning today off of the COVID list. That is fantastic. He was placed on it last week, which meant that Ryan McCollum would make his first start, and Goff said, you know, he played well. He took command of that room. It was his first NFL start at the center position, so shout out to Ryan McCollum for getting an opportunity. He's definitely struggled last week. There was no question about it, and it'll be really nice to have Evan Brown back this week. Oh gosh, it will be really nice. Good experience for him, but Evan Brown is back, so that's great news to start off with off this COVID list, which I believe holds 7 players now. It may be more than that. I think it's 7 though. I think it's 7 currently at this very spot, and we'll see. And hopefully this continues throughout the week. Hopefully Thursday and Friday we're saying, hey, this guy's back, that guy's back off the COVID list. That would be outstanding. Here's some good news though, and I think we spoke this into existence yesterday, so I think we should take a little credit for this, but it's AJ Parker who has returned to practice today in his 21-day process. I believe week 14 last week was the first week that he was technically able to return. Now, he did not return to last week. We continued to play Will Harris at that slot cornerback position, but he returned to practice today. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to play this weekend because he still has to be activated off of injury reserve. It's the first day back to practice in that 21-day span because he's missed, you know, the 3 weeks. It can be tough to bring those guys back right away. It's possible. We've seen it with Bryce Callahan, right? We saw that, but we'll just have to wait and see. The good thing is that we could see AJ Parker again this season. And I would love that. I would love to see AJ Parker again this season. To finish off the season would be fantastic. You want to see these young guys get reps at the end of the year, and especially when you look at what Dan Campbell said today. He said, we want these young guys to feel like vets to us. You know, these young guys, because they're going to be major pieces going forward, you want them to feel like vets heading into next season. And that's what experience will do for you. So the more snaps that we can get AJ Parker, the better, right? That would be great to get this guy back and help out our cornerback room for sure, but also possibly move Will Harris back to safety, which we have not seen. We have not seen in a while. He's played that cornerback position for a while with us. So it would definitely shake some things up. Now, we still got plenty of guys on the COVID list, from Jamal to Tracy Walker to they're iffy. You know, there's still a lot of guys, Mark Gilbert, which is why we signed those 3 cornerbacks. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see when we're able to get those players back. However, that is some good news to start the week. I'll take it. But let's take a look at this injury report. So you start off at the top with Alex Anzalone. He was dealing with an ankle injury. Dan Campbell called it day-to-day. Now, today was a normal Wednesday for the Lions. They did go out there. They did practice, but he did not participate in practice today. Alex did not. But again, it's day-to-day with the ankle injury. Sure, it's not a great start, but it is the beginning of a week. And when you say it's a day-to-day injury, the guy could definitely come back and play. It doesn't seem like he would probably need to practice a ton. You just have to make sure that his ankle is good to go and he could get out there and play for you. So it'd be great to get him back this week, but not a great start to the week listed with no participation. We'll keep an eye on it. Jaylen Elliott. Oh, hold up. Before we go too far, I don't know why this reminded me, but the Lions also got back the receiver Javon McKinley to the practice squad. He was on injury reserve from the practice squad. So now he's back on the practice squad. Thought I would just throw that out there. So he's back. Javon McKinley. I kind of forgot about the guy because he was on IR for a while, but I'll just throw that in there. More good news. Now, we're speaking of all these practice squad players and these players sitting on the practice squad. The NFL made a pretty huge change on Wednesday for the rest of the season, is that you can now elevate a player off the practice squad as many times as you need to for the rest of the season. They're doing that because of all the COVID cases that are now coming up. Because of all these COVID situations for like the team like the Lions that are continuing to have to elevate players off the practice squad. They did it last week. I think 7 guys they elevated from the practice squad, and a lot of them played big roles for us. You are now able to do this in a limited amount of times. In the past, it was you got to do it twice. You could elevate a guy off the practice squad twice, and then at that point, you would have to sign him to the active roster. But because of all the COVID situations that are now happening, the NFL decided to make it so that for now, for the rest of at least the regular season, as I know, you can now elevate players off the practice squad as many times as you would like to for the rest of the regular season. So keep that in mind. So guys that have come up now twice, you can just keep elevating them off the practice squad without having to give them basically the active roster spot, which you would usually have to do in the past. Is after 2 times, you would have to give them that spot. But now with 4 weeks left of the regular season, or 4 games left of the regular season, you can elevate these guys as many times as you would like for the rest of the year, which is a huge update. Alex Anzalone, we definitely felt that he was not there last week. We went to Woods. We went to Derek Barnes, who also is on this list. We'll get to that in a second, but you could feel it, right? I mean, it was a drop off. It was tough missing him. I think you definitely felt it in coverage, just some of the coverage drops that he's accustomed to. I mean, he fits this defense. He understands what's asked of him in this scheme, and he's picked it up really since Jamie Collins has no longer been here. I mean, he has done a real nice job since that time for us. He's been staple in his defense, and I think he felt it more last week. His stock seemingly went up because he was not there, and you felt the fact that he wasn't there with how they were gashing us on the ground, but also just our coverage drops from the linebacker position. All right, so hopefully we can get him back this week. That would be huge. Now, we may have some good news with the other linebacker that we have not seen in a few weeks that could be back this week. It looks like he's trending that direction, but let's get there in a second. Jaylen Elliott, not injury related, did not participate today, so we'll just keep an eye on that one. I haven't seen any updates about why that is. We'll just keep an eye on it and see what happens with Elliott. But he was asked to play safety for us last week, as Will Harris stayed at the slot position for us. Nikel Roby-Coleman came in and played the outside cornerback. We know now that he's also on the COVID list, so actually that may have us at 8 again. We know he's also now on the COVID list, which is part of the reason that we signed the 3 cornerbacks that we did yesterday and added those 3 guys for competition. But like Dan Campbell said, I mean, those 3 guys that we added, they may have to come in and play immediate roles, and he said some of them are, because we'll just have to see where we're at, but you may have to come in and step in right away. And that's where the connection is important with the Denver Broncos and how the Lions feel like if you're from that kind of defense, you could come in and help us right away and get that competition. You look at Chris Williamson, a guy that's played this season with Atlanta. So those guys may be able to step in and help us right away, and they may have to. That may just be where we're at this weekend. We'll just wait and see. TJ Hockenson. Now, this is not a good start to the week with no participation with the hand injury that swelled up last week. Beginning of the week, he thought he was going to play. Didn't play on Sunday. Must just not have gotten better. I feel like Hawkinson's going to play this week. I know it's no participation and it just feels like a random guess. I just feel like he's going to play this week. It'd be nice to have TJ Hockenson out there. We had Shane Zylstra step into a bigger role. We use him a lot, actually, in the passing game, watching it back. And Zylstra's kind of on that bubble now. So as long as Hawkinson's out, it's an opportunity for Shane Zylstra to get better and improve very, very fast. Jonah Jackson, the guard, dealing with a back injury, no participation today. He played in every snap, I believe, against the Denver Broncos. So I'm not really sure where this came from. Again, it's Wednesday. So Wednesday, a lot of times they play very cautious. If you're not feeling well, hey, just take the day off, especially a guy like Jonah Jackson, and make sure you get right because it's a physical position that you're playing. Take the day off and relax. So we'll just see how he progresses throughout the week. But we didn't see anything against Denver, at least I don't think. Julian Okwara, he also did not participate with his ankle injury. He missed last week as well. It'd be nice to get Julian back. I mean, we could use some pass rush help, but also Julian's got a lot to prove in other ways for this defense, more than just what he can do as a pass rusher. He's still got a lot that he needs to prove to us, and of course still improve as a pass rusher, but there's a lot that he could prove to us, and this is an opportunity. When you look at where we're at depth-wise, no Flowers, no Romeo Okwara. I mean, you're down multiple guys. Austin Bryant played a handful of snaps last week, and that's it. You have Jesse Lemonnier out there, okay, as one of your starters. Where the depth chart is at right now, this is a golden opportunity, so hopefully he can get back because I would love to see him out there and have a chance. Both DeAndre Swift and TJ Hockenson, the update that Dan Campbell gave is that neither one was expected to practice today, so it's not a huge surprise that they didn't practice today because he kind of expected that to be the case.
I don't think either one of them are going to practice today, but yet they'll move around and we'll see where it goes. If we feel like we can get them back by Friday or something, it's certainly we'd love to have them. But
Hawkinson's probably running around off to the side because he's dealing with the hand thing. DeAndre Swift dealing with a shoulder. He's a guy that probably could be moving around as well. And he said we'd love to have him if we can get him back by like Friday or something like that. So again, those are 2 players that you probably don't need to see a full week of practice from them. You would just like to see them get out there and get some practice reps if you're going to try to play them in a game, right? They need some practice reps, especially a guy like DeAndre Swift. Definitely not counting them out just because they did not practice today. Derek Barnes, it's another new addition to this list with a knee injury. He's listed as limited participation. The good thing is it's still limited, so he did practice today, so I don't have too big of concerns. I don't think he dealt with an injury in our last game against Denver, so I'm pretty confident with Derek Barnes in terms of being healthy heading into this week against the Arizona Cardinals. We'll just see, something to definitely monitor because something may have came up today in practice. So we'll keep an eye on it because tomorrow's gonna be big. If it's no participation, well, now you're concerned because now you're like, oh snap, something must have popped up. So we'll keep an eye on it, but today limited. Now, Michael Brockers, the defensive end, he's been dealing, with the knee for a few weeks now. He's been kind of playing through it. He's limited once again for us. Brockers helped us a lot in that Denver game. Not our D-line didn't play that good, but he helped us. I actually think Penasini helped us a little bit as well. I know that's kind of random, but I noticed Penasini a lot watching the All-22 back that I didn't see initially. So shout out to John Penasini. But Brockers helped us a ton last week, and limited is usually a good start for him, and usually that's all he needs is limited participation. He'll play. Here's a big one. It's Austin Bryant because he's dealing with a shoulder injury. He was limited, but last week he only played a couple of snaps. He didn't play much last week. He was active. He just didn't play much for us. So we really leaned on Jesse. We got him involved a little bit. I think one of the plays he actually got a little bit of pressure for us. We're at with the depth chart right now. Guys have opportunities to step up, and Austin Bryant may have that opportunity this week, getting back to it again for another week of practice. So I'm confident Austin Bryant may be able to play much more this weekend, which should be very helpful. And then you have Jalen Reese-Maybin, which is some great news as he returns to practice for the first time in a couple of weeks. He's definitely come on towards the second half of the season. And now he's missed the last 2 games and those 2 weeks of practice. So this is big. It's the first time he's practiced in 3 weeks, right? For Jalen Reeves Maben dealing with that shoulder injury. It'd be fantastic to have him back, and starting with limited participation means a lot of good things. I mean, that feels good with Jalen Reeves Maben. So we'll monitor it, but it looks like Jalen may be on his way to coming back for the first time in 2-3 weeks. I don't even know how you would think. I think you'd say 3 weeks. In 3 weeks. That'd be great to have Jalen back out there, especially if we can't get Alex Anzalone this week. I mean, we really had neither of those guys last week, and you could feel it. You could feel that they were not there. It'd be great to have him back on the field at least. And you finish off with Penei Sewell, who has been playing through an injured shoulder. But like he said, hey, I know what I can push through. You know, I know what I can push through as a player. And shout out to Sewell, because the guy he just plays. Like, he plays through injuries. He plays through sickness. He puts himself out there on the field, and he gives you everything he's got. Sewell has been awesome for us to see. I mean, that's the only way I can explain. He's been awesome. A lot of good to come with Penei Sewell. You got to believe in just such a bright future here with this offensive tackle. And really, this offensive line as a whole, when you look at the guard positions, the way it's been getting better, the run blocking's always been there. Pass pro, it still could use some work, but it's been getting better, especially on the left side, it could use some work. But Decker and Sewell, I mean, that foundation of 2 tackles, it's exciting. It's exciting. I know if you look at PFF, they both graded out, like, I think Decker was 3 and Sewell was number 1. So it was like, dang, that'll work. You also want to make sure that, you know, he's protecting himself because he is young. You want to make sure the guy isn't putting himself out there in harm's way. And hopefully that continues to happen. Hopefully we keep seeing guys taken off of the COVID list for us going forward, and hopefully we can continue to get players back. But at the very least, it's opportunity for other guys, and those 3 cornerbacks that we signed yesterday, well, they might just have an opportunity this weekend. We'll see how fast that transition. Now you move over to the Arizona Cardinals side of things, and their injury report isn't very big, but they have some big news. And they've also made some roster moves today, which kind of point to a few things. They got some good and they got some bad going on the Cardinals side of things. They released their long snapper, Bo Brinkley. I think that's how you say it, Bo Brinkley. Now, because they got their other long snapper back. So they released the veteran long snapper who is filling in Aaron Brewer, who is out. So they're getting their normal long snapper back, which is why he was released. They also released a linebacker, Nate Hall, off of their practice squad. At their injury reserve, they do have some good news here. You look at guys like Davis Wells, their tight end. His open practice window began today. So that started for him to try to get off of IR and back to the team. Last week, as we said, their long snapper was active against the Rams, and so was defensive lineman out of LSU. I think second-year player now, Rashard Lawrence. They got a couple of guys back. Now, Chase Edmonds continues to be on IR. He's still on kind of the shelf, but maybe soon they get him back. We'll wait and see. Now, there's a couple of guys on this injury reserve that, honestly, because I don't follow the Cardinals like that until, of course, we play them, I didn't know we're on here. I didn't know J.J. Watt was pretty much out for the season. Maybe he's back sooner. Their timetable for him is kind of just up in the air right now. You know, he could return by postseason, which means that he's probably not going to play against us this week, which is nice. I'm going to be honest, you know, not having to face J.J. Watt does help. Big news about them is the receiver position. That's the big news. It's DeAndre Hopkins. And this report came out today that DeAndre Hopkins is expected to miss the rest of the regular season. It started off as a knee injury. He did not play on the final drive for the Cardinals, where we know it was just a disaster of a final drive. They got the onside, and I don't know what that was. If y'all saw Monday Night Football, you know what I'm talking about. I was like, what kind of drive is that? But anyways, it was kind of a mess. He was not out there on that drive dealing with a knee injury, and he and both James Conner MRIs done on Tuesday to check out their injuries. And the word that we first got today was that they were going to get a second opinion on DeAndre Hopkins, their top receiver, who hasn't hit 100 yards receiving in a game, which I kind of felt like, yeah, that'll probably be this week. However, he does lead the team in, you know, receptions and touchdowns. He's hasn't hit that many yards, but he has also missed 3 games. I mean, he's a really good player. We know that. But with DeAndre Hopkins, it started off by saying, well, actually, they're going to get a second opinion, which is usually not good news when you hear that, because it's like, oh, snap, something must be pretty bad here. And now the report is that Hopkins could miss the rest of the regular season, which means that he's probably very unlikely to play this weekend. They list him out pretty soon for this game. So I would not expect Hopkins to play this weekend, which is, of course, a big loss. Now, they still have a good receiver room. When you look at Christian Kirk, and you look at Rondale Moore, and just the speed, the up-tempo that they can play with. And I got to believe that they're going to try to hammer us with that because they want to get on top of us early. They believe they can score at will, in the words of Dan Campbell, and that allows them to do a lot of things defensively, bring pressure, get creative defensively, and get after you because they know they can score a lot of points. So I got to believe they're going to throw some of that tempo at us that they did versus the Rams, because we've shown some issues with that versus tempo. I got to believe they're going to attack our young guys, especially for missing a lot of players, because it seems like we definitely could be in the back end, and they're going to attack those. Not having Hopkins does help us, because when you look at where we're at, it's like, dang, dude, y'all, can you let up a little bit? I mean, we don't got like any cornerbacks out there. So it'll be beneficial not to have Hopkins, but they still have Kirk. They still have Rondale Moore. They still have AJ Green on the outside. They got Andy Isabella. If you look at the top, Robert Alford, who is their veteran cornerback dealing with a pectoral injury. He did not participate today. We'll see where that goes. But today they signed a cornerback from the Tennessee Titans practice squad to their roster. That is Breon Borders. I think it's Breon Borders. And he has played a little bit this season. He's been targeted 8 times. He's only given up 3 completions in those 8 targets. But them signing a cornerback makes you feel like maybe Alford isn't good and maybe he won't be able to play this week. At very least, it's a precautionary thing to make sure if he can't go, you do have some depth at that position. When you look at their cornerback spot, Byron Murphy has been outstanding so far this season. Statistically, he's allowing 62% completion percentage, only a 76 passer rating. He's got 4 interceptions. They also got Marco Wilson, we all know the Florida cornerback, who is statistically not had his best year, but he's also a rookie, so you got to keep that in mind. One thing about this secondary, kind of like ours in a way, it's a very young secondary, very young, with Byron Murphy, Marco Wilson. You even move back to their safety position. Dylan Thompson, who's been pretty good at the strong safety position for them this season. Alford was kind of the vet in that cornerback room. I mean, he was like the veteran cornerback that they did have, and he was really solid statistically. Just looking at his numbers alone, really solid stats so far this season. If they don't have him, that would also be a pretty big loss for them in this game, in that unit, because they'd have a lot of young guys. James Conner is also on here dealing with his ankle injury. With James Conner, he was really good last week. He was really good on Monday Night Football, so not having James Conner would be huge, but it also could lead to a guy like Eno Benjamin getting his shot to play a lot in this game. Also, if they get Chase Edmonds back, this would be the time to do it if he can't play, so we'll keep an eye on that. As we said, Eno Benjamin's only carried the ball like 24 times, though, this season. James Conner did play really well, so he went through the MRI, which could have been just a cautionary thing. They didn't believe it was serious. He said he got dragged down kind of funny, and it was a little bit sore with his ankle, but he was listed as did not participate today. So he'll be a big one to keep an eye on, but you got to keep in mind with them, it was just a walkthrough because they played on Monday. So it's a very short turnaround. So they just went through a walkthrough today, the Arizona Cardinals did. So just keep that in mind. Now, continuing down, Fotu, who is their defensive lineman.
Lucky Fotu.
He's dealing with a shoulder injury. He did not participate today. He is a backup on the defensive line that I said it's pretty good. Got some talent, that's for sure. I mean, they have Corey Peters, who's also on this list. We'll get to that. Zach Allen, Jordan Phillips. I mean, Rashard Lawrence is back now. So they do have some good depth there. Fotu hasn't played a ton this season. Zach Kerr, another defensive lineman here dealing with a rib injury. And then, of course, you have Corey Peters, who's kind of their like starting nose tackle in there. And now he's 335. Rashard Lawrence could mix it in a little bit. I know Fotu also has some size to probably play that role as well, just looking at the build and remember him coming out of the draft. So they are dealing with some injuries on the defensive line, which brings up some depth concerns, especially with a guy like Corey Peters, nose tackle on this team. He does give you a little bit of pass rush upside, that's for sure. So their D-line is dealing with some bumps and some bruises. We'll keep an eye on that. And he finished it off with their starting left guard, Justin Pugh. Justin Pugh, that's how you say it, right? Yeah. Their starting left guard. Claff. I spelled it Claff. I didn't spell Cap. I put Claff. Okay, anyways, Justin Pugh has been out for a little while. He's been out since week 9, I believe. Sean Harlow has filled in at that position play for them, playing almost 500 snaps. Now, Pugh has allowed 0 sacks this season when he's played. He was active in this past game against the Rams, but he didn't play any offensive snaps. So you just wonder, is he going to come back and play this weekend? Sean Harlow has definitely had the reps, so it's nothing that would be like a huge, surprise for them. But he was limited today, so we'll see what they do with that guard position. Maybe this is the week that he gets back to and he starts at that spot. Keep an eye on this report. Of course, Deandre Hopkins will be the biggest miss if he's out for the rest of the regular season, and it looks like he's definitely probably likely out for this game if that's the case. But I would also keep an eye on Robert, the cornerback for sure, and I guess his defensive line depth, just to see where they're at defensive line coming into this game and what guys are going to rotate in and out, because it does seem like they like to rotate and go to different pieces just from looking at the numbers alone. But again, I haven't really dove into the all-22 film yet for them for this game and did the preview for them yet. He said, Kyler, he's just something else. He said, we're going to need to score points in this game, and we're going to have to be able to bottle up Kyler Murray. I think that's one thing. You just got to keep him in the pocket. I think that's really the focus with Kyler, is like, just don't let him scramble and create something. I think last time we played Kyler, which was years ago, so it's different now, we had some success against him, just keeping him in the pocket. That's what you have to do, is try to keep him in the pocket. It's what the Rams seemingly try to do. You have to understand the run lanes. The good thing is Lions have good practice against this versus guys like teams like the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. It's not the same, but they're quarterbacks that are mobile and can escape. I actually think that this could benefit us, actually, as crazy as this sounds, if a little bit against Kyler Murray if we can just contain and keep him in the pocket versus a really good pocket quarterback if we can't get a lot of pressure. Lions right now are struggling to get a lot of pressure. So for us, it's just about keeping him in the pocket versus other quarterbacks where we can't get to the quarterback. That gives us issues because we just cannot get pressure even when we blitz. So in a weird way, this could actually somewhat benefit us. I know it sounds nuts. It's just a theory on Wednesday, okay, before I get to the L22, that this could benefit us against Kyler Murray because Murray is a quarterback that likes to get outside the pocket. So you're more worried about containing rather than necessarily trying to get a whole bunch of sacks on the guy. And that could actually help us, who's been unable to get much pressure anyway, in comparison to playing a really good pocket quarterback that would be able to sit there all day and kind of pick our defense apart because he would literally have all day to do so because even when we blitz, we're not getting after. And if you blitz and don't get after him, you're in for a long day. So actually, in a weird way, I think that could help us in this game. But he's right. We will need to score some points. That's for sure. Okay, if we can come with some points, that'll be huge. We can't have these turnovers. So it'd be nice to get some of these vets back in defensively and offensively, whether it's T. Walk or Jamal Williams on the offense side. Anybody we can get back, I'll take it. Absolutely, we'll take it. Now, he did have an interesting note about the receiver room. He said it's not as cloudy as I guess it was. It's much more crisp as receiver room. He said specifically the last 2 games with St. Brown, the way that he's helped. Goff talked about St. Brown saying that, you know, the kind of relationship that they have now running the option routes as a slot receiver, the anticipation of where he's going to be and where St. Brown's going to be. It did look pretty darn good in that game, aside from the wheel route play, which was kind of strange. I don't know if St. Brown should have kept going. It looked like he kind of stopped because of where he was at, but Goff went with the whole wheel route. We'll take a look in the L22 so you guys know what I'm talking about if we can get that pulled up. But I see what he's saying there. But Dan Campbell says it's not as cloudy. It's much more crisp the last 2 weeks. Josh Reynolds has been a very big help to them. I think Reynolds has to come back. I'm just saying. But either way, he has been huge for this receiver room. And again, it's opportunities at tight end position for guys like Zylstra, as long as Hawkins is out, to step up Brock Wright. Prove it, Brock Wright. If you're going to be the number 2 going forward, right, because you weren't coming into this year, prove it. Like, this is your opportunity to do so. So you got to keep working, and you're getting your chance to do that for the rest of the season to earn that spot going in next year where the Lions can trust you and say, yeah, we're going to keep you around. You're going to be part of this. So that is an opportunity for guys like that. But it is kind of promising to hear him say that about the receiver room, which at one point in the season, we were kind of like, oh my gosh, what are the receivers doing? And now to say this, the past game as a whole has kind of started to come together. And the production from receivers has come together, which we have not seen, which we didn't see for a very long stretch as we just stopped designing plays for receivers at one point. Reynolds has changed a lot for us. Getting Decker back has changed a lot for us. And we've also done some different things schematically, which has been nice for us as well. There's just been a lot of changes going on in that room. But anyways, that's really the notes that I have for this one, man. That's the injury report for the Lions and for the Cardinals. We possibly could be back live tonight with the All-22. We'll just kind of have to wait and see what what the film has in store for us. Does it want to work or does it not? If not, then we can push it back this week, or maybe we won't do it. We'll just see. We'll kind of see how it plays out, because tomorrow we'll have last second dose, so probably won't do it tomorrow. I mean, I guess we probably might be able to afterwards, but it's probably pretty unlikely, so it'll be more of a Friday thing. And at that point, it's kind of like, well, we're on to Arizona, so we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts, comments below, though. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.